If you call yourself a 90s kid, you know we were the last generation to wait for anything. Whether it was the orange glow of the streetlights telling us to head home, lining up quarters to stake our claim on the arcade, or risking blisters with a manual can opener just to eat. In this countdown of We Are 90s Kids, 20 things that made our childhood epic, we're diving into the daily struggles and secret victories that made us resourceful long before Wi-Fi or smartphones. But was the effort worth it? And how did we turn inconvenience into legend? The answer lies in the unwritten rules and gritty rituals that shaped who we became. Every neighborhood had its own code, but the streetlights wrote the rules. The orange sodium glow flickered to life, humming overhead, and that was the universal signal. Game over, time to head home. No one needed a watch. You just learned to read the sky, the shadows, and the slow buzz as the lamps warmed up. Some kids tried to squeeze out those last few minutes, stretching a game of kickball or tag until the lights snapped on. But the moment that glow hit the pavement, sneakers hit the sidewalk in a full sprint. You could hear the echo of bikes skidding to a stop, jump ropes dropping, and a chorus of "See you tomorrow" trailing behind. It didn't matter if you were in a cul-de-sac or on a city block, the rules were the same. Get home before the lights finished warming up, or risk a lecture, or worse, no play tomorrow. Parents didn't need to call or text. They trusted the neighborhood to keep an eye out and the streetlights to do the rest. The hum was a warning, the glow a deadline, and the dash home a nightly ritual. After dark, the world belonged to adults. But until then, the streets were ours. We organized our own games, settled our own arguments, and learned to watch out for each other. If you fell, someone's older sibling patched you up. If a ball landed in a neighbor's yard, you negotiated safe passage. Even the tools we used, like the manual can opener in the kitchen, demanded a little effort, a little grit. You'd twist that cold metal crank, fingers slipping, just to open a can of SpaghettiOs or peaches. Sometimes you'd nick a finger, but you kept going. That was the deal. If you wanted something, you worked for it. And before the world started keeping tabs on every move, we learned to police ourselves, one streetlight at a time. Lunch was never just a break. It was the first real taste of commerce. The lunch table became a marketplace, and your snack selection was your starting capital. Some kids came armed with Dunkaroos, those little blue trays with just enough cookies and a puddle of frosting so tiny you had to strategize every dip. Others brought fruit by the foot, unrolling it like a red carpet and measuring who had the longest strip. Gushers with their gooey center were the gold standard. One pack could get you a trade for almost anything, especially if you threw in a Capri Sun for good measure. The real power brokers were the ones with Lunchables, especially the pizza kind. It wasn't about taste, it was about the freedom to build your own meal right there at the table. Kids with a Lunchable and a Capri Sun had leverage. They could demand 2 packs of cookies or a full sleeve of crackers in return. On the other end, the ones with plain apples or off-brand snacks had to get creative, bundling items or teaming up with friends to negotiate a better deal. Trading wasn't just about food. Pogs brought the playground to life. Cardboard discs stacked high, slammers at the ready. Holographic Pogs were the rarest, worth a week's worth of decent snacks, and losing one in a game of keeps was a real sting. Kids learned to spot a heavy slammer by feel, weighing the odds before tossing it down. Sometimes, deals spilled over to book covers too. Brown paper bags folded with crisp corners, personalized with bubble letters and stickers. A well-decorated book cover could earn you a spot in someone's trading circle, or a shot at the next rare pog up for grabs. Every trade was a lesson. How to read someone's face, how to hold out for a better offer, when to fold. By the end of lunch, You knew exactly who valued frosting over cookies, who would gamble for a rare slammer, and who always walked away with the best haul. It was our first taste of negotiation, and everyone played to win. Saturday morning started with a mission. No alarms needed. Kids just knew. The living room carpet was the best seat in the house, and the TV was already humming before the sun finished rising. Networks lined up their cartoon blocks like dominoes, each show slotted with military precision. If you missed the opening theme, you missed the whole episode. There were no do-overs, no DVR, no streaming. Once a show aired, it vanished until maybe next summer's rerun. That ticking clock made every episode feel rare. Cereal boxes doubled as ticket stubs. Bright boxes promised new toys. Tiny plastic figures, hologram cards, sometimes mail-away offers that took months to arrive. The best boxes came with games or cutout masks. Sugar cereal was a weekend-only event in some homes, and parents rationed it like gold. But if you got the prize first, you ruled breakfast, at least for a day. By noon, the magic faded. Cartoons gave way to golf or infomercials, and the living room cleared out fast. Saturday mornings weren't just about TV, they were about timing, anticipation, and sharing the same window of fun as every other kid on the block. Friday night meant one thing: the hunt for the perfect movie. Families piled into minivans and station wagons, racing to Blockbuster before the good titles disappeared. The blue and yellow glow from the sign promised rows of chunky VHS cases, each one a ticket to a different world. Kids darted down aisles, clutching the last copy of a new release like buried treasure, while parents negotiated over which PG-13 movie was actually okay. Sometimes you struck gold, other times you left with a backup pick and a box of Milk Duds. But the ritual didn't end at the checkout. That Be Kind Rewind sticker wasn't just a suggestion, it was a silent threat. Forget to rewind, and the next renter, or worse, the Blockbuster clerk, would know. Late fees loomed over every weekend, turning a $3.99 rental into a financial debate. The tension was real. Get the tape back by noon Sunday, or risk losing next week's pick. Arcade runs added another layer to the night. Chuck E. Cheese tokens jingled in pockets, each one worth a single shot at glory. At 25 cents a play, you had to choose wisely: Street Fighter II, Skee-Ball, or the claw machine that never seemed to pay out. High scores flashed on screens, initials immortalized for a week, maybe two. Tickets spilled from machines in slow, steady streams, traded for plastic prizes that felt priceless in the moment. All that effort, all those negotiations, just for a couple of hours of fun. But when the lights dimmed, popcorn popped, and the VCR whirred to life, it felt like the whole week had been building to that exact moment. The day the Scholastic Book Fair rolled into the gym was like a mini holiday. Tables covered in glossy paperbacks, stacks of Goosebumps with those holographic covers that shimmered under the fluorescent lights. It was a pop-up store built just for kids, right in the middle of school. The air smelled like new books and plastic wrap, and everyone clutched a crumpled envelope of singles or quarters, counting and recounting what they could actually afford. Some kids had $10 and could grab the latest R.L. Stine plus a poster or a scented eraser. Others had just enough for a single paperback, and the choice felt monumental. Pick the scariest Goosebumps, or go for a joke book and hope it got passed around at recess. There was always that order form too, with boxes to check and a promise of delivery weeks later. A slow-motion lottery where you'd forget what you picked until the teacher handed out the loot. For a few days, the gym wasn't just a place for dodgeball. It was a marketplace, a library, and a treasure hunt, all rolled into one. And if you scored a first edition or a fresh set of stickers, you walked a little taller in the hallway, at least until the next fair came around. Getting online in the 90s felt like cracking a secret code. The modem's handshake, beeps, static, and that final screech meant you were about to enter a world most adults barely understood. One wrong move, and a single phone call could knock you offline, erasing hours of progress. Downloading a single MP3 could take 4 hours if you were lucky, and the family's only phone line was held hostage the whole time. But that first successful download felt like winning the lottery. Saving schoolwork on a 3.5-inch floppy, just 1.44 megabytes, was a gamble every time. One bad sector and your entire project vanished. Burning a mix CD at one-time speed demanded patience and nerves of steel. One buffer underrun and it was back to square one. But when that disc finally played, or your AIM buddy list loaded, it felt like you'd pulled off something epic. Every small victory online was a badge of honor. Pulling off a sleepover in the late 1990s took real skill. You'd show up with a backpack stuffed with snacks, 3D Doritos, Surge, maybe a sleeve of Gushers, and a tangle of controller cords for the N64. GoldenEye split 4 ways on a chunky tube TV, everyone squinting at their tiny corner, arguing about screen peeking. If someone brought a PC, you'd snake LAN cables across the carpet, hoping nobody tripped and crashed the whole game of Quake. Pizza boxes stacked up, Mountain Dew cans rolled under the couch, and nobody slept until the sun came up. Getting around meant more than just asking for a ride. Before GPS, MapQuest printouts were lifelines, directions printed in bold, the paper folded and refolded until it tore at the creases. Miss a turn, and you'd end up at a gas station, begging for a highlighter and a Thomas guide. Payphones stood on every corner, but you had to come prepared. If you didn't have a quarter, you'd try the collect call hack, cramming your whole message into the name field so your parents could pick you up without paying a dime. Pick me up at Mallby. Click. Saved another 50 cents. Even classrooms demanded a certain touch. Overhead projectors hummed and squeaked, the plastic sheets smudged with last week's marker. Teachers fumbled with the focus, and you'd catch glimpses of doodles from the last period, half erased but still visible in the glare. These weren't just old habits. They were tiny tests of patience, improvisation, and a little bit of hustle. Every day, you had to figure things out for yourself, and that's just how it was. In the 1990s, a single floppy disk held just 1.44 megabytes. A Blockbuster rental cost $3.99, and the universal streetlight curfew signaled the end of unsupervised play. These facts highlight a childhood shaped by scarcity, effort, and tangible rituals. From memorizing phone numbers for payphones to hand-cranking manual can openers, every day demanded resourcefulness. Yet, gaps remain. No complete database tracks playground snack economies or the exact origins of the streetlight rule. What is clear, the transition from dial-up internet and analog tools to today's always-on world fundamentally changed how young people interact and solve problems. Studies show that on-demand technology has reduced waiting and increased convenience, but the evidence also points to a loss of certain practical skills. As photos of brown bag book covers and arcade tokens fade into archives, one fact stands out. Life as a 90s kid required more effort, and that effort shaped a generation's resilience.